Hey guys and gals, Jim here, and got another little mini diorama I made up here. This is the anniversary, the 50th anniversary day is when the man landed on the moon, the big historic moon landing. So I thought I'd do a little video on the moon landing deal. First thing that went on today was, the astronauts, they switched over from the command service module. Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin, they got into the lunar module. Michael Collins stayed behind. He'll be orbiting the moon while they spend their hours down on the surface of the moon and all that. And first off, there was a little discrepancy who was going to be the first one off the lunar module and set foot on the moon first. And, it should have been Buzz Aldrin, but Neil Armstrong, since he was closer to the hatch and it's kind of cramped in the lunar module as far as space goes, it was easier for him to step off first. So that's why he was the first man to set foot on the moon, and not Buzz Aldrin. And Neil Armstrong was the lunar module pilot, and Buzz Aldrin was the mission commander, and Michael Collins was the command module pilot. But it worked out unfortunately for Buzz Aldrin, even though he was the commander of the whole operation. It kind of made things a little different and stuff on all that. I guess the lunar module's got two different areas where the two astronauts stand when they're coming down and to land on the moon and stuff. And Neil Armstrong's position was just closer, and rather than have Buzz Aldrin crawl around them and take a chance of damaging something, it was just easier to work it out the other way around. So, but anyway, they landed on the moon today, and they were supposed to, after about 6 hours, they were supposed to step out and set foot on the moon. What I understand from what I learned, they did it after about 3.5 hours. They walked around for a while, took some pictures. I got the little photo of the Earthrise in the back that you see from the lunar surface, the Earth coming up in the background, and all that. And then they put up the American flag, which I included on the little display. Basically, just made a little plaster of Paris base on a wood block, and kind of did some craters after it starts setting up. I just teased it up with a toothpick and created some craters and some hills and some depressions and stuff like that. Thought it looked pretty cool to have a little display. I redid the lunar module, the legs. I cut them off, and I redid them so they were like in the extended position. Tried to make a little tiny ladder and keep it all pretty close in scale. I would have used some photo etch, little brass photo etch pieces for all that, but I didn't have anything on hand, and I wasn't going to order special photo etch. Like I said, this is just a quick throw together with some little mini dioramas with some extra stuff that I had, that came in the box and everything. So I thought this would be pretty cool and all that. So after they spend, I think they spent like about an hour and a half walking around the moon, then it was time to get back into the lunar module and getting ready to head back up. They didn't spend a whole lot of time up there, and all that. It was pretty much just a portion of one day and everything. But the lunar module itself, it uses a solid rocket fuel in the upper half when they're ready to take off from the moon, and it's only a one-time deal. That means if it doesn't work the first time, there's no second chances of pushing the button again and trying to fire the second time. It's a one-time shot. So you gotta hope everything works. Well, when they got back into the lunar module and it came time for them to lift back off, they start going through the checklist, make sure all the systems were go, and they found out that the switch to fire the engine had broke when they were getting out. They actually accidentally bumped into the engine firing switch, and it broke off. So they called Mission Control. Mission Control was trying to come up with some solutions. They told them to sit tight for a while because it was going to be a few more hours before they took back off and everything. And Neil Armstrong happened to pull out a pen, and he managed to get the pen to work, so everything was pretty much successful. But if it wouldn't have worked out, like I said earlier, during the whole mission, if there would have been any problems and they weren't going to make it back, that President Nixon already had a speech prepared to read to the American people about, you know, what had gone wrong, and you know, we're going to lose some people up there. And also Michael Collins had instructions that they gave him before they, you know, lifted off and stuff, that if there was any problems any time during the flight, what to do. And they also gave him instructions as if they couldn't get off the moon. You know, I guess there were only a couple different things. If they got off the moon and had problems, you know, he had some rescue maneuvers to dock with the lunar module to retrieve his crewmates. But if they couldn't get off the moon, there's no way that he could get down to the moon and rescue them. And he had specific instructions in case of emergency situation like that, you know, return to Earth without his crewmates and all that. And I could imagine how nerve-wracking that would have been, you know, if something did happen and they couldn't get back up there. You know, what he would have felt like and everything and stuff and all. But there was a big chance. But the rocket did fire. They got up to they got up back into orbit and everything once they took off from the moon. And basically all that left the moon, and I don't have this painted up, but basically all that left the moon was the upper portion of the lunar module. And then once it got into orbit, they were going to proceed to dock back up. Well, when they got back into orbit and it came time for them to dock, they got little canisters of gas. When they engage the docking system, the gas canister fires, and it engages all the locks to keep everything airtight and everything. Well, the first crack at it, they were all lined up, they got in there, the canister didn't go off, so for some reason it had emptied out, so they had to try for a second docking, and that one was successful. So pretty much, you know, everything was going. They had a lot of problems, and when it came to landing on the moon too, they got down to a certain point and not too far off the surface. And what they do, the engine on the bottom half of the lunar module is basically like a braking system. It slows them down. It kind of guides them to the spot they're supposed to land. Well, that was full of boulders, and so Neil Armstrong decided to put it into manual. They were getting all sorts of alarms, and the funny thing, half the people in mission control didn't even know what half the alarms were for. They were there for a purpose, but they didn't know what. And so Neil Armstrong, he kind of maneuvered a little bit to clear the rocky area where they were supposed to land, and it was still on Tranquility Base, but he had to go off course a little bit and landed in a different spot. And they made the landing with about 25 seconds worth of fuel left. If they would have ran out of fuel before they landed, they would have crashed into the moon at pretty high speed and everything, and that would have been a pretty big problem too. So, but everything went smooth. Once they got back into the command module and all 3 astronauts were secured, they jettisoned the top half of the lunar module, and eventually that crashes back into the moon and becomes a bunch of space debris on the moon. And then they'll make another revolution around the moon. When they go around the backside is when they fire their engine on the service module to get them out of lunar orbit, and for about 45 minutes they lose contact with NASA, and that's a real critical time. If that engine doesn't fire at the right time and burn for the right amount of time, it could set them off course and you know, throw them off from getting them back to Earth. And if they're not on the right trajectory, like I said, basically they're just using the gravitational pull from the Earth and the moon to travel at that great distance between the planets and stuff. You know, there's no engines involved and stuff. All they use that big engine on the service module is to get them back out of lunar orbit, just like the third stage got them out of Earth's orbit. So once they got that fired up, everything worked out okay. They got back communication with NASA after they passed the backside of the moon, and everything was right on target. So it'll be a 3-day trip back to Earth, and then comes the next critical time of the mission is going to be for splashdown in the Pacific and all that. So up to this point, that's pretty much about it. Other than that, as far as the manned space set goes, I'm doing a lot of just base coat painting and stuff like that, and it's been pretty humid. Yesterday we reached a high of 115 with the heat index, and we had a 81% dew point, which was they said that's pretty unusual, you know, for the Midwest, let alone the rest of the country. But they said that's a highly unusual dew point number to reach at 81 degrees. Usually upper 60s, lower 70s is common, but yeah, it was miserable yesterday. And today's not much worse. And by Monday, by Monday we're only supposed to be about 78 degrees, and we're supposed to get some pretty nasty storms later today and all day tomorrow. But if you know anybody out there that's in the Midwest, the East Coast, any place throughout the country, or having this heat wave go through, man, just you know, be smart, hydrate and stuff. And if you don't need to go out in the heat, don't do it, because they says it only takes a couple minutes to, you know, have something go wrong and affect your health, and you know, where you could be looking at some pretty serious illness and stuff. So hope everybody's been enjoying this little build. I got the space shuttle for the 200 Hasegawa kit. The space shuttle does have some pretty decent detail on it. I've got that all put together, and I got my white base coat. Then I'll be doing all the other paint colors on there and stuff down the line and stuff. But it doesn't have too bad a detail and everything. You know, the only thing that's not detailed is the underside. They don't have the little heat tiles engraved on there or nothing like that. But that's no big deal, since it's going to be mounted up against the external fuel tank and rocket boosters anyway, so you won't see much of it. But other than that, the detail on the top, the nose of it, all a little engraving and stuff, it's all pretty cool. On the edge of the wings, it's got the engraving for the tiles and stuff, so it's not too bad of a kit. Just not really highly detailed like some of the larger ones and stuff. But so that's going to be about it for now. Hope everybody's enjoying this. I'll probably come back with another video, you know, at the end of the moon mission and stuff, when they splash down and everything, go over a little bit about that and all, and hopefully have another update on my man in space build. But that's pretty much about it. So they already got the American flag set out there and everything, and they're doing their little abouts. I didn't have no small astronauts tiny enough to put on there to make it look like a couple guys walk around the moon. So you have to use your imagination for that. But anyway, hey, I want to thank everybody for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks to all my new subscribers, man, big time. I think I got about 50 or 60 subscribers over the past week or so. So ever since like last weekend. So thanks very much, all you new subscribers and stuff. And you know, like I said, this isn't all I build. I do a lot. Mainly I do sci-fi. I do a few cars here and there, stuff like that. A little bit of variety. But I'm just doing this Man in Space, the AMT Man in Space kit with all the different NASA rockets for the history of the space exploration, as a little thing for the 50th anniversary of Apollo 11 and stuff. So if you're expecting to see this all the time, you know, don't get used to it. Most of my stuff is sci-fi, lit models, you know, more detailed and everything like that. So this is just a quick little build thrown together, and I thought it would be the appropriate time to do it with the Apollo 11 anniversary going on. So till the next time, thanks for subscribing, thanks for leaving all the nice comments, thanks for hitting the like button and all that. If you need to ask me any questions, feel free to contact me at my email, which I leave in the description at the end of every video and all that. And we can talk about, you know, discuss things more detailed and stuff like that. And we'll be seeing you soon. So till the next time, take care, happy modeling, stay cool if you're in the heat zones, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.